Thanks a lot, Fabrizio. Can you guys hear me? I assume that's a yes. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a sec, please. Good to be here, by the way. Very good to be back at ABD 20, although it's a virtual edition, but that's it. It's going to be fine anyway. So thank you for the very kind introduction. As you mentioned, Fabrizio, I'm here with a friend and colleague of mine, Paolo Sammicheli, and Andrea Ganetti, who works with a company that Paolo and I are actually working with. And we've been working with this company, Pietro Fiorentini, for the last 18 months. So we'll tell you more about what we are doing in the company. And just to give you an idea what we're going to talk about, this talk is structured in 3 slots. And basically, we are going to zoom in more and more into specific topics. So Andrea Ganetti will start with an overview of the company. And then I will take over and I will tell you what we are doing in this company, which is a very complicated company, as you will see, at the organizational level. And then we will zoom in a bit more, and Paolo Sammicheli will tell you what we're doing specifically on one of their production lines. So this is more or less the overall structure. We start large and then we zoom in. Moving on, so then again, here we are. Andrea Travaglio, Paolo Sammicheli, and Andrea Ganetti, and I think I'm done with the introduction and overview, and I will let Andrea Ganetti go on with the overview of the company. Andrea, it's up to you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Andrea. So my journey in Pietro Fiorentini started 5 years ago, and now I am in charge. I am the team leader of the Kaizen Promotional Office and the product owner of a team. Just to briefly introduce myself. And Pietro Fiorentini, to give you a flavor of the company, is an international company that design and produce components, a solution for the oil and gas market, all the way from the gas extraction through the final usage of the final user in the domestic and industrial applications. Next, Andrea, please. Pietro Fiorentini is now over than 8 years old and exports all over the world. Basically, we started to export abroad in 1956, and now we count more than 1,700 employees worldwide. We are proud to be an Italian company and still to have 6 production facilities in Italy, which are the biggest facilities actually, and 7 production facilities worldwide. And our sales force is located also in Europe, America, Africa, and Asia. Now, going more into the topic of today, 20 years ago, more or less, to compete, in order to be able to compete in the changing market, which started to be more aggressive and require for lower prices, higher quality, and shorter lead time, we started the journey of Lean. And 20 years ago, we started to apply Lean principles in order to achieve and increase our efficiency. Nowadays, again, looking at what the market is requiring to us, is that we are facing a more and more aggressive market, which not only is asking for lower prices and higher quality, but is asking us to be fast in responding new needs in the market and to cope with more complexity and to be able to be more and more innovative. This is why we're starting to go into the Agile framework. And this is where Agile is helping us to cope and to be more and more effective. And this is the structure we are now giving to our company. So to divide, like we can see in this brain, into different sides, like the yin and the yang. The left side of the brain is the backbone, the main business of, let's say, the hard business. And the right part is the soft business, where really Agile come into and help us to explore new things create network inside the company, and give more autonomy and distributed leadership. And now I think Paolo.
Nope, I think I'm going
Andrea.
to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Andrea. Thank you for the overview. So, as I mentioned, and as Andrea explained as well, Pietro Fiorentini is a very complicated company. They've also been growing very, very fast in the last few years. They've been acquiring new companies, so they have multiple locations, not only in Italy. So for now, Paolo, San Michele, and I are working on 3 or 4 different locations in Italy. And we're working with different teams and doing different things. So if you know me from other conferences, you know that I usually don't talk much about my clients, not only for privacy reasons, but also because I usually prefer to address more, let's say, wide topics, more general use topics. But this specific company, Pietro Fiorentini, gave me food for thought, because they are a very, very particular company. First of all, they are extremely lean, as I will explain in more detail later. And second, they have these ability to perceive that agility, even in the oil and gas company, is now a critical success factor. So it's not only producing things, it's also the way the business works. And it was a very good opportunity for me to confront many of my ideas and preconceptions with this very special client. So I'm very happy to be working with them. I don't want to give you the impression that we're going to talk about just an oil and gas company, because I just want to remind you that we are all children of the Industrial Revolution. And by that, I mean that for the last 2 centuries, all of us in our Western civilized world, we have been breathing the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution, you can see the effect of the Industrial Revolution in educational systems, for example, which are designed as factories for mass-producing educated people. You can see that in the way we deal with people inside the organization. Just the fact that we call people human resources is a reflection of the mindset of the Industrial Revolution. And in other domains, like finance, for instance, we still have this idea of measuring KPIs and stuff. So what I'm trying to say is the lessons that I'm learning working with Pietro Fiorentini, I believe they apply to a wider range of organizations. So I hope you'll find something useful for your specific case as well. And as I mentioned, we're doing a lot of different things. I decided to focus on 3 specific topics. So I'm going to talk about at the enterprise organizational level, about performance management, creating value, and which kind of leadership culture is more fit in the kind of world that they are creating for themselves. So, as I mentioned, Pietro Fiorentini is a very, very, very lean company. And let me give you some example. Obviously, they have lean production lines. Okay, very simple. Another thing, they are structured organizationally. Not only they have the usual organizational functions like finance, marketing, and stuff, and so on and so on, but they also have value streams. So, for instance, one of their value stream is producing hardware components, like the one in the picture. So they have a value stream part of the company with a value stream leader who's responsible just for that. Every year they have a program, they have a yearly program of improvement on different areas of the company, which is called the Lean Transformation Plan. Every month, this company spends 1 week with 15 teams just doing Kaizen, just doing continuous improvement, which means that this company is investing more or less 3,000 man-hours per month just improving themselves. And they have a Japanese sensei helping them to do that. They use different flavors of Lean. They use 5S, for instance, for optimizing the workstation, the workplace. They use 3P, and Paolo will tell you more about 3P later, for prototyping hardware things. They've been doing this for a very, very long time, so it is very deeply ingrained into their culture. So it's the leanest company I ever worked with, in the best possible sense. And we've been doing many things. I don't want you to give the impression that we're just working on producing components for gas and oil, because we've been applying Agile for internal IT projects, for one telecommunication project, for one redesign of the office spaces projects in architectural stuff. We've been using Agile in a specific area which they call plant and process package, which means they sell you a complete system to do something with your gas and oil. And we've been working with the way they deal with the complexity of this specific task. We've been using Agile to kick off a small startup inside the company, and of course for hardware. And also we have been using Agile for products. One is this IT product, and the other one, the hardware part. Andrea and Paolo will tell you more in a sec. So what have you been doing so far? Let's say we started with the basics. So at the moment we have a number of Scrum teams working in the company. And so what we just remember, these are very complicated company, as I mentioned, and they've been growing very fast, which means that one of the complexities that they have is that people are very, very busy, usually on multiple things, so multiple projects at the same time. So one thing that we did by creating more stable team was to give them more focus. Now people are able, many people, the one that are participating in the Scrum teams, they're able to spend several days per month just focusing on one thing. So we try to create as stable as possible teams. It's an ongoing process. It's getting better and better. So we're still working on that. We implemented the usual feedback loops, reviews, retrospectives, daily standards, blah, 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 blah. So we created more direct communication with the business. We reduced team dependencies. We gave more autonomy to the teams to make their own decisions, and which means that they go faster. And just by doing that, we have found that now teams are able to deliver more or less 3 times faster than before. So their projects, they're able to deliver, they're able to complete their projects in 1/3 of the time as compared to what we did previously. So that's a good accomplishment. We're very happy about that. But this is just a basic of Agile. It means just give people the possibility to interact with each other in a safe environment and give them focus and trust them that they do the right thing. So it's not been easy, but nothing special. But there are other things that I've learned, which I'd like to share with you. Now, I'm an organizational consultant. I'm an Agile enterprise consultant and coach, which means that part of my job is to go into a new company, a client, and it's just natural for me to observe and notice what we call the artifacts. Now, the artifacts are any visible, observable manifestation of an underlying organizational culture. And I'm not judging, of course. That's not my job to judge, but to observe and notice, that's part of my job. So, for instance, you see that they organize their workstations in a very clean way, which is part of 5S. They optimize the workstation like the one you see in the picture. They use Kanban everywhere. They use these little signs. You see the red sign in the center of the second picture. This basically saying we need more of this. Okay, and somebody will take care of ordering that stuff. They use 5S also for optimizing the workspace. So there are specific areas designated for specific things. And then they push it more and more and more, which is a very good thing because it gives people the opportunity to go deeply into this mindset of efficiency and optimization and so on. So for instance, even the markers and the sticky notes that they use for their meetings, so they have designated spaces. You like it or not? Well, I don't know, but it's a very good exercise. Maybe sometimes they take it even too far, like in this case, there is a sign on the floor which says, this is the space for the IT department. And I trust that people know that already, but anyway, then again, it's a very good exercise. And they also use 5S for specifying how the desks should look like. Now, I'm going to take this last picture as a very simple example of where Agile and Lean starts getting where it's easy to get some confusion. Now, if you think about it, a workstation, if I'm talking about a computer and keyboard and mouse and so on and so on, this is where we do our work, right? And if you look at my desk at home, it's not very much different from that one. I like a Zen-like environment to work, very optimized, very lean, very streamlined, because it helps me think better. But that's the point. The activity in this case is a cognitive activity. The real work does not happen on the desk. The real work happens inside the brain of the person that is using that specific tool. And by using keystrokes and mouse movements, they transfer this cognitive work inside of a computer in the forms of software, documents, data, and stuff like that. Which means that sometimes it's easy to have the impression that you are optimizing work because you come from a culture where you are very used to optimize physical, tangible work. And that's where Lean comes from, right? Lean comes from the optimization in the production of tangible goods. But Agile is all about cognitive work. And that's the big difference. Agile originated from information technology because we needed a way to develop intangible products, which is basically software. And then Agile went overboard, and now we don't use Agile only for IT, we use it for a number of other different things, including hardware, as Paolo will show in a second. But they come from different perspectives. So clarifying these two different perspectives is very important if you want them to be able to coexist. And if you don't have this kind of clarity, you could get confused on a few things. I'm going to tell you a couple. So I've been working with companies, not Pietro Fiorentini, I've been working with companies where this idea of using KPIs was very strong. I've worked with software companies where the CEO told me, oh yes, but we need KPIs to monitor the improvement that we're making on the software teams. Now, the thing is, a key performance indicator is something that we use to measure a process. And for something to be measurable, it needs to be quantifiable and visible. If you're not able to quantify something clearly, it becomes much harder to assign a number to it and then to measure it. Now, if you come from a very process-oriented efficiency mindset, which is where Lean is very, very strong, it's easy to think that you could use KPIs to monitor cognitive work. But that's not the case, because when you talk about cognitive work, you're basically talking about people, and people are moved by their intents, goals, objectives, aspirations, ideas. They learn by mistakes, they learn by doing, and many, many, many of these things are not measurable. So the first thing to do is to recognize that when you work with people and cognitive work, you have to be very clear on the goals. Goals are what you want to achieve. Or as we say in Agile, you want outcome. You want the result, your desired value, not the output, not what the process is going to create for you. So this is one thing that we are slowly adjusting. Of course, we want to keep KPIs for production because that's very, very important. And then again, Pietro Fiorentini is great in doing this kind of work. But then for other things, we're moving away from this mindset of measuring people. And also for a very good reason. When people know that they are measured on something, their behavior changes depending on what you measure those people on. And I'll give you another example. I mentioned that I've been working with this plant and process package with the people creating systems. Now, developing a complete system for a client is a very complicated thing that requires procurement, finding suppliers, it requires engineering, it requires a number of different things. So of course, Pietro Fiorentini have laid out what the process should be to do this complicated thing. And they also say, for instance, that the first part of starting this new project for a new system should take 1 week. And in that 1 week, people are expected to put together all the relevant documents. Problem is, people are measured if they stay within that week, if it takes less than 1 week or longer than 1 week. And as a side effect, people focus more on staying in that week rather than producing value in what they do, rather than producing, for instance, the right kind of documents, complete documentation, and so on. And that's, I mean, it's very understandable. But this is one shift that we are trying to make with them. For certain things, you need to focus more on the outcome and less on the output, which is still very, very important. If you come from an industrial mindset, it's easy to be confused. But even if you are not an industrial company, it's easy to get confused and confuse output for outcome and measure people on the output and not on the outcome. And then the other thing we're doing is we are introducing an extra layer of leadership skills, which means that leadership in Lean, as far as I understand it, is very focused on the idea that the leader is also the expert of a specific field. And it's the expert, so he can help other people to do their work well. And the leader is always available if there is a problem, which is not much different from a production line. And if everything runs fine, you don't do anything. If you have a problem, you stop the production line and you call somebody and you fix out it's warm and you do whatever. So this is a kind of leadership that is typical in Lean, and it works very, 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 very well on production lines. But Agile is more about living with uncertainty. So if you lead people and you have to create a safe environment where they can safely experiment and fail, then you're not just the expert, you also are, I like to use the metaphor of a gardener. You need to create the right environment where the right behavior can happen without your intervention. And so this is another thing that we're doing for them. And I'm almost done. So what we're working on is we are working on improving performance management, moving away from the very specifically industrial mindset. We're improving product ownership skills so that people learn what value is and they learn to focus on value and on efficiency, outcome and output. And then we're developing new leadership skills. And I'm done for my part. I think I'm kind of a minute late, Paolo, but yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my sharing and let Paolo Sanmicheli take over for the rest of the talk.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And okay, now you should see my background. And now you should see the slides, right? So let's talk about a little bit on what we are doing in a specific implementation of Scrum. That also it's a implementation in hardware. That is the core business of this company. So the thing you see in a picture, it's a gas pressure regulator. So it's the thing that reduces the pressure of the gas before it enters in your house so that you can use it, all right? And it's not the product we are talking about. The product we wanted to build with the Scrum team was the production line for this product. So this product, the design of this product started before my arrival into the team and was still ongoing, of course. And we wanted to start building the production line for this product. So how you start a new Scrum team? Well, you do the lift-off. Lift-off, as described in the Diana Larsen Naslini's book, it's something that really helped me in the entire my career as a coach to start both software and hardware teams. And Diana is speaking here today, so I would like to stress this out. If you don't know this book, go pick it up and read it because it's really, really useful and valuable to know what to do to start a new team and a new project. So here in the picture, we were discussing the purpose. You know, the lift-off model is composed by three main elements: purpose, alignment, and context. And here in the picture, we were brainstorming the purpose, the reason why of the project. we had 4 discussion of 4 different tables, and then all the post-its, all the ideas has been merged in a big wall and then condensed in a single basic canvas. A basic canvas is something I use. It's a kind of variation of the Roman Pichler canvas. If you want, you can download it from my website. It's Creative Commons free, of course. And basically, we discussed about what who are our clients, who are our users, who are our customers, who are not, and what are their needs, what are their problems, but also what are they desire. You know, when you build a product, too much time we spend discussing about problems and solutions. Sometimes you want to improve something good to get something excellent. So maybe you want also to talk about the desire and how we can make these dreams to become reality. And also we discussed about the obstacles that these clients have in front of them in order to achieve their needs and their desire. And so that's the definition of value. If somebody has a desire or a problem, and the solution is not easy for them to achieve, you have a space to build something that might be a solution, a product, to help them to reach their goal. So what is the solution we want to provide to them? What are the alternatives today? And also what are the business expectations from our side, from our company, from our sponsor, from this initiative? And what there might be the risks in doing this. So the left side of the canvas talks about the external world, the opportunity. The right side talks about what we do in order to get some benefits doing something for them. And so with this alignment, this big alignment within the extended team, the main stakeholders and the main sponsor, we started forming the team. We named ourselves the Rolling Scrum. So we also had our logo so that we created a kind of team identity. And Andrea Ganetti, that will speak more after me, is a Kaizen promotion officer team leader. And he served as a Scrum Master for that team. The team was composed by representatives from the tooling department, the majority of them, maintenance and logistics. So it was a real cross-functional team capable of thinking and building a production line for that product. So if you wonder how it looks like a Scrum team room when producing an oil and gas production line, well, this is the answer. So this is the big space they had as their room, as their Scrum room, and here they were creating new ideas and brainstorming ideas. Here they were building prototypes and trying to see how this idea could become reality. And they were then building it here and test it. So when I arrived, as Andrea said, we found a lot of lean practices in place, especially one called Lean 3P. The Lean 3P, it's an incremental approach, and at every step you dramatically reduce risks involving in the design. And so I started reading about, they gave me books about this, and I started reading about this stuff. And every time I was reading about the process of creating the product incrementally, I would say, okay, this is kind of familiar. I don't see anything wrong here. The only difference, you can catch it up in the last sentence. So it's Lean 3P should be inserted early in the product development process, and it will be used to align all the many vertical functions in our horizontal value stream to optimize the new product concurrently with the operation that will produce it. And so, okay, I said, I got it. So this is a way to build something incrementally without changing the organization. What in practice Scrum do, it also change the organization, creating stable teams and giving them a regular set of events so that we have this disciplined way of creating a product and collecting feedback very often. This is similar, but this Lean 3P doesn't aim to change the organization. So let's see how we can merge this and having a one approach that take the best from the both worlds. So I asked Andrea, how would you start right now? So how would you create the plan for this product? We call this product backlog, as you know. How you would do if I wasn't here? And he said, well, we have this architectural fishbone, and basically it's how we can assemble the product composed by the different parts. And basically here we decide what are the steps that the operator needs to take in place to assemble and test the product until it's done. I say, okay, I see. So you're saying that this is the user journey. So is the what your user is doing? I said, yes. Okay, cool. So we call this user story mapping in the Agile space. Let's use this architectural fishbone to create all the stories about this user using your production line to build a product. And so we started, as an operator, I want to insert the valve into the regulator. As an operator, I want to close the cover, and so on. And we build the first product backlog. And then what they started saying, something like, oh, we're going to do the X10, X50. I would say, what the hell is that? And they say, we have this, when we start about what you say, sorry, and say, as the operator, I want to insert the valve, we build a prototype in cardboard that is super fast. In this, we start discussing what will be for each stage, the input and the output, what parts needs to come to be added in the product, what if there is some defects where we are going to be a different exit and so on. So we discuss the process, and with these cardboard boxes, basically, we see also the size of the entire line, how many steps, and we figure out since the beginning, how big is the space that we need at the end to build the production line. So, oh, cool. So that's something we can do it very fast, right? Yes, we used to do this. Oh, wow. And then we build something with the wood so that we start seeing how can be structured, how the station can be structured, and what we can place the things so that the ergonomic is kind of good for the operator, and we ask feedback. Oh wow! So that's awesome. Let's keep it. And then we use the aluminum to be something that it's already working. But you can make an operator to use it because, and then we call it X2050 because every time we multiply by 5 the risk reduction, the kind of feedback we get. Oh wow! So that's like what we do in software. We might have the same story, but with different acceptance criteria. So in the beginning, the user story has few acceptance criteria, and we implement something quick or dirty. Then we get the feedback. We add the acceptance criteria, add the same functionality, and we improve it. So awesome! So this is for us will be the acceptance criteria. And so that was really, really useful because that was already what they used to do before. So I didn't feel like I was completely disrupting the way of thinking. I was just canalizing this good way of thinking. And so that has been a really smooth adoption. And we introduced the board, the sprint board. So in a Lean tradition, you might have different board. I try to say, okay, let's have a single place where everything is. So what you do in the next 2 weeks, it's only one place only. And so we use the standard Scrum board plus multiple Scrum pattern. Well, if you're interested about the Scrum pattern, you can find it in my book. So we use also the interruption buffer, where we use the Scrum in the Scrum. So even the Kaizen, the action from the retrospective was as a story into the board. There is a specific streamline, top of the board for the Kaizen. Also, we use this yesterday weather to just measure the plan. So we, based on our past performance, decide how much work we want to the next sprint. And also we had this warming. Sometimes happen something like, well, we have to move that big machine in order to make space and place our new machine. And so the team swarmed, and that time was even multiple teams swarming. They were swarming in a single activity. They made it really quickly, and then they moved back to what they were doing. So that's what I want to say. If some Scrum trainer or coach are listening, this is something that is kind of mature implementation, and they started with these things at the beginning. So that they are really tough guy, open to get new ideas and new way of improving the work, because they are used to do Kaizen since 2 decades. So that was something familiar for them. And I love them because they hate to wait. And so if we cannot get a feedback earlier, they found any way to shorten the feedback. So we used also 3D printing, so that even before the aluminum, we could have something to try in the production line and see how we can manage the parts. And so honestly, I had a lot of fun implementing this project, because, when you see the results and it's something tangible that you can touch it, you really are motivated. And what about the sprint reviews? So at the sprint reviews, stakeholders for the entire company, even different sides, were attending. And the sprint review is really very engaging, really very interactive, and also very noisy, because we are in an industrial factory. So we use mic and microphone and speakers to make the people to talk, as you can see in the pictures. And during the review, you see actually stakeholders trying to use the tool, say, okay, no, I don't like this because, it should be higher, it should be lower. It would be more comfortable if you do it in this other way. And so there is a lot of interaction during the inspection of the increment, because that's basically what you have when you have a physical product like this. And so I think I even little bit earlier, I saved 3 minutes, so I recovered the time. Andrea was saying a little bit late, so I think now we are perfectly in time. And I'm handing out the microphone to Andrea Ganetti for the final conclusion.
Thank you, Paolo. So, this was really the journey we are still actually in, and talking now, making a balance about what happened, what we experienced, and some benefits that we gained from implementing Scrum. So the first thing we experienced was increased the know-how sharing across the team. What does it mean? We have a cross-functional team that used to stay in their own comfort zone. Let's say an electrician used only to work as an electrician, although it was a cross-functional team. A maintenance guy used only to work on mechanical stuff. But now what we achieved is that, for example, our electrician guy is not only in charge of the electrician part, but he's also able to place purchasing orders, because every time he was moving his tasks of the story, and he had some interruptions for I don't have that component, I don't have that component. So, but the team was so excited to close the story that they said, you know what, please teach us how to place purchasing order, and we place purchasing orders alone. So now the team of hard work staff is able to place also purchasing order. Distributed leadership, that was a big change of mindset, because this team was used to wait for the project manager before, the project manager to tell them what to do. So basically executing and then wait for project manager to give task, executing and wait for project manager to give task. And this is what a change of mindset that we work on with Paolo, to say that, to tell people you can be your leader. So they started to distribute the leadership among themselves and self-organizing during the sprint. And another big benefit that we achieved is in the change of priorities. When you are working, especially, you can think about how it takes a long time to build a new production line. What happens if a new product comes in when you are still working on this production line? In the past, it took months of meetings and discussion with the management to think where to move people, if to give priority to one project or the other project. Now with this Scrum team, is with the product owner and the management, we are able in the time of one sprint to think, hey, what is the most priority and the most value for the customer, to stop this and move on into this new production line or production bench, or stay on this one. So actually, in one sprint, in the framework of one sprint, we are able to change the priority without disturbing, let's say, the team that is outside of the discussions and other things. Also, another most important benefit that we experienced was to gather all the feedback in the sprint review. Because what happened before was that during the work, someone would show up, the person of the quality department, and say, hey, I see that I don't like this for quality reason. And then maybe 1 week later, someone from the safety department would show up and say, hey, I don't like that for the safety reason. And so the team kept on stopping and fixing after the feedback. Now, gathering all the feedback into the sprint review helped us to be more efficient in the work. So, on the other side, moving on to the next slide, everything was not also so easy, but we had to also face some difficulties. And we experienced that it is better to involve the main stakeholder from the beginning, so they enter in the right mindset and the cadence of the feedback, because it is very important to have all the stakeholders on the boat at the beginning. The initial team composition need to be taken into consideration. Was a breakthrough for me. A sentence that Paul and Andrea told me, that the work goes to the people, not the people goes to work. And so we learned how important it is to keep a team stable, and so it is very delicate to change a team. And also finally, and I am ending my part, management commitment is essential to allow team and to success in a Scrum team and to achieve goals. So management should be the main sponsor of this Scrum journey and Scrum activities. And this is the end of my part. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I would just like to add, I read on the chat that not everybody was able to follow the English and Italian translation. So just join us at 11:15 in the room that you see here and on the mural board. It will be much more informal. We'll be speaking Italian if we have Italians. So see you there if you want to learn more. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.